All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get started. So, let's do a quick review of the action from yesterday um, and look at what stocks were moving. So, first up is ELEV, Elevation Oncology. All right, so this stock, pretty solid day of upward movement, starting off at around $1.71, ending up um, peaking at somewhere around 237, but we wouldn't have been in this part here. So, earlier, it peaked out somewhere around 226, so not a bad move for a stock this price. And that one was identified after the opening bell. Good morning. All right, next up is Lyft. Now, Lyft wasn't something I was watching very closely, but I did point it out earlier in the day that the stock looked like it had some positive momentum. Turns out that Lyft did very well yesterday. Started from under the VWAP channel, moved across, continues to go up. Basically moving, let's say if you didn't catch it then, but you caught it somewhere around here, moving from about 860 all the way up to about 913. So pretty good move, and definitely exploitable. Datadog DDOG was a slow mover up. Didn't go very far. Just steadily went up over the day. So starts the day off somewhere around 65.35, and today peaking at about 68.19. Now, keep in mind, of course, that is a significant move, a few dollars. So definitely worth it if you were in and out or held through the day. Um, that was one of there weren't a lot of stocks that moved like that all day. So Pacific PACW, PacWest Bancorp. That's what I'm trying to say. This one started off mostly moving down, began to recover, but then after that didn't do much. I mean, it was possible you may have caught this transitional move here from 1070 up to maybe 1139, or you may have caught this rebound here from 1075 up to 1222. Or you may have tried the short salad as well. But the point is, it did have some movement, and the bit of movement that it did have, a good portion of that could have been exploited depending on um, when and where you were watching. Okay, so not the best mover, but there's stuff that was there. JNCE, Jounce Therapeutics. This one did have a pretty good movement at the open. Went from that was identified pre-market. It went from 145 up to 163. Little movement up there, and then it just softened up. So I wouldn't say that that was a great opportunity after the opening bell, but it was okay at the beginning of the day. That is. Zion had a pretty decent rebound. This is another banking stock. So Zion, let's see, there's our open right there. Sorry, this is open right there. Quick move up, then that was it. So if you caught the quick move up, great. If you didn't, don't worry about it. Uh, this quick sell off here, also some opportunity there. If you caught that, great. If you didn't, don't worry about it. But um, didn't go in one direction for very long, but did have some degree of opportunity. HUBC, as far as that goes, a decent day as far as the recovery. So first selling off, turns around sharply, moves up, taking us from about $1.89 up to 228. Definitely exploitable there. Then we have INTC, Intel, which basically had two waves of movement. What not the smoothest, but we knew we weren't going to get very smooth movements anyway, as we discussed pre-market. So Sharp move at the open, taking us from about 27.73 up to 28.38. Pull back there, then end of the day run from 28.08 up to roughly 28.47. So decent opportunity there. Good morning, Jay. Microsoft, decent move up. Okay, not bad at all. So start of the day takes us from about 259.79 up to 264.50. Pull back and then a resumption there, taking us from 262.35 up to 266.18. Not a bad move. See, Mara didn't go in one direction, moved around quite a bit. Where's our open? Right here. Okay, so there's Mara opening here, moving up, selling off, coming back. This wouldn't have been a great one to trade, but I would say the recovery bounce here wasn't so bad. So 679 up to about 710. Not a lot of movement, but perhaps at the end of the day, maybe something. The MVLA, as expected, was a pump and dump, as these usually are. Big movement pre-market. As soon as the bell rings, sells off, comes back. So, um, not really something you could have shorted. It would have been a hard to borrow stock, but the recovery bounce here, if you caught some of that, maybe that would have worked out. But not the best stock yesterday. All right, so let's look at what we got on the calendar. Now, as yesterday, I'll repeat that we have to expect the market to be very choppy, regardless of what you hear from the political people and their assurances that everything's okay. We do have to keep in mind that there is definitely a contagion spreading. If you spend some time reading up on this, the culprit is pretty clear. It is the actions of the Federal Reserve in combination with the policy decisions of the federal government, in particular related to COVID and also the response from the previous financial crisis through COVID into the present. So, in other words, the Fed's actions have basically created the situation that we're in. Not basically, they have. They literally have created the situation we're in. And unfortunately, that means that a lot of collateral damage will be done. And politicians right now are spending all of their time pointing fingers at each other. So Democrats are blaming Republicans, Republicans are blaming Democrats. Progressives are blaming. Everyone's blaming. But the reality is funny that very not most of them are not pointing any finger at the government and Federal Reserve actions, but those are the culprits, unquestionably. The reason why what we're having is happening. So those things cannot be unwound. There's no way to just undo it. There's no policy like you can write a policy right now is going to fix everything. So we have to go through it. You're going to see other banks most likely fail or at least suffer. Credit Suisse has needed a bailout from the Swiss National Bank to shore up its liquidity. That's already um, apparently decided. I think it's 50 billion francs or something like that. So some major developments here. The big thing is that since Credit Suisse is a large bank with over $1 trillion in assets, that does exactly point out that there's a chance that we may see some other problems come up with bigger banks. So start off with smaller ones, but now we might see bigger banks suffering too. If you look at most stocks out there, a lot of them are trading way under their projected ranges for this month, based on what the options were expecting before this crisis hit, and a lot of those are banks. Banking XLF, for example, that ETF is trading way below where it was expected to be at maximum this month. So that means the market is well aware of the situation and they're not assuming everything's going to be okay. So that being said, um, today we've got well, actually, we should have already had unemployment claims. Yeah, unemployment claims came in at 192,000, so less than expected. Do keep in mind that these numbers are not that reliable. You do have to actually look into the exact method that they computed them these days, because there has been a lot of manipulation of these stats to make them look better, by moving data from older periods into new periods or stuff like that. So essentially, the markets are going to have to scrutinize this. We're just going to see what the results are. But generally, the market responds negatively when these numbers come out better than expected. Manufacturing, Philly Fed manufacturing index came in worse than expected. This is matching the results that we saw for other manufacturing indexes, like the Empire State, which came in worse than expected as well. So a surprise drop in the manufacturing indexes twice in a row, basically suggesting that we are moving into recession. Building permits are better than expected, so that's maybe a positive. Housing starts better than expected. However, we'll have to see if those numbers are going to be deemed positive by the market. As far as right now, before the opening bell, the Nasdaq is up. Well, it's about where we closed yesterday, I should say. Maybe I shouldn't say it's up, but it hasn't sold off or anything like that. Slight volatility, slightly negative bias. We'll see if the market sells at the open, but it does appear we're close to what may be a top of the range. All right, so looking at stocks that are moving pre-market, once, oh, sorry, wait a minute, wrong scanner. 1 second. All right, so let's see what we got. All right, so as far as stocks moving pre-market, Live Person Incorporated, LPSN, is down 47%, 930,000 shares. Close enough. I'll add that to our radar. Obviously, we're looking for things that are trading more than a million shares, but this will probably be at that number pretty soon. So LPSN down off of earnings. PACW dropped again pre-market, so we will keep an eye on that. So after the rebound, now it's back down. Once again, showing that the situation has not resolved yet. Otherwise, the stocks would be more stable. Let's see what else we got. OKYO. Never heard of this company. Let's check it out. OKYO currently up 18.86%. Good morning, Lillian. 2.5 million shares traded for OKYO. So we'll add that to our list to watch at the opening bell. Next up, we got ESPR. Aspirion Therapeutics down sharply. Let's take a look at that. Currently down 59% on 1.8 million shares. Bad news, of course, is the reason why it's down. So we will go ahead and add that. And we don't know which way this is going to go at the open, but we know it's active. THMO, Thermogenesis, yes, we will add that. It was up sharply, now down very sharply. Actually, it may even go negative. Right now it's trading under the previous daily price. So THMO. Now, of course, again, we don't know which way this is going to move. It may move up or down at the open. Just remember that we're just looking at these stocks because they're active before the opening bell, not because we know which direction they're necessarily going to go. So once the opening bell rings, if they're doing anything that we can take advantage of, we will. If they're not, then we won't. The key is we make sure that we know what stocks are active, which could potentially create an opportunity for us. Now, the company RCON, we're not going to add that to our list, but it is interesting because yesterday the stock was trading above $1, but they registered to offer 8 million more shares of stock, and the stock dropped to where now it's worth basically a third of what it was yesterday. So once again, showing how much of an impact such a decision could have. All right, on our established watch list, I don't really see much of interest. Let me get rid of this stock, this IDU. Mara, not trading enough volume. Tesla, normal. Nothing there. Nothing there. Okay. So in short, things are looking fairly normal for the open. As of right now, the markets are demonstrating a negative bias going into the open, but we never know. So once we get before the opening bell, we'll see which way the markets seem to be leaning. And then, of course, after the opening bell, we'll see where we're at. But remember, the name of the game going forwards, probably for definitely until the Fed decision on Wednesday, and then after that, I would say we'll probably have another several days at least of similar action where we need to be in and out of trades very quickly. You don't want to spend too much time holding anything at this point. Okay. Um, Adobe, that it did. Maybe. I mean, it's after earnings, so I guess that wouldn't be a bad idea to keep an eye on. All right. So Adobe, however, only traded 54,000 shares. That's surprising after hours. So it's not really trading a lot of volume. We'll see what happens at the open, but right now it doesn't. It's not doing much at all. All right, I do have to end this a little early because I have a technician that should be knocking on my door in about 8 minutes to fix my furnace. So let me just get to doing that, and we'll go from there. So these are our stocks. And excuse me, and we'll go from there. Right. If anyone's logged in who's not a member of our services, be sure to check out fundertrader.com, our website. They didn't. So this is three times, or this will be the third time someone's coming in. First two times, first guy tried to reset it, which I already did, didn't work. Second time, then more experienced guy walks in, looks at it, and says, "You got a problem with something. Something in the machinery needs to be recharged." He said, "I don't know if he's talking about a battery or compressor. I don't know what it is, but something he said needs to be fixed." But my thermostat is, no matter what I do, the temperature it never moves from 66 degrees. Is exactly 66 degrees. So it's not exactly warm in here. So that's been for the last 2 or 3 days. So yeah, so I haven't fixed that, so I can get to a more comfortable 70 something, and we'll go from here. All right. So I will see you guys in the coaching room, and probably will be 5 minutes after the top of the hour. We'll go from there. Okay. Take care, folks.